Page number 15, Unit 2, Socialization, Anticipatory Socialization, Re-socialization, Gender Socialization, and Political Socialization. Unit Structure 2.0, 2.0 Objectives 2.1, Introduction 2.2, Anticipatory Socialization 2.3, Re-socialization 2.4, Gender Socialization 2.5, Approaches to understand gender socialization 2.6, Political Socialization 2.7, Forms of Political Socialization 2.8, State-Society Interface and Political Socialization 2.9, Summary 2.10, Questions 2.11, References 2.0, Objectives to acquaint the students with meaning of anticipatory socialization and re-socialization, to understand the concept of gender socialization, to familiarize the students with political socialization. Introduction 2.1, Introduction. Socialization is a process to create social imagination. It intersects with our cultural and personal experiences and helps to develop ourselves. The development of self is continuous process. It begins in cradle and ends in grave. However, the two basic types of socialization is primary and secondary. Primary and secondary socialization. Primary socialization refers to socialization that occurs when a child learns behavior, attitudes, values, and actions as members of a society. It is therefore called as childhood socialization. It is essential for mental and physical development of a child. It takes place within a family. It is most basic form of socialization. Whatever the child learns through the process of primary socialization stays with him or her for life. The secondary socialization refers to the process of learning the appropriate attitudes to behaviors and values as member of smaller group outside the family. It begins when an individual starts interacting with social agents rather than family. Example, educational institute. It is also called as adult socialization. Secondary socialization is important because it shows the way an individual learn about the nature of its social world beyond his or her primary context. Primary socialization plays a prominent role in childhood, and secondary socialization is prominent in childhood. Socialization thus is a social process comprising interactions between people. It thus is a social process comprising interactions between people. It takes place in multiple contexts due to contact with various social groups. The most prominent contributors to the process of socialization are family, peer group, educational institutes, and workplace. Each of these agents have values, attitudes, and culture that an individual must acquire in order to gain acceptance in the group. Socialization has a great impact on the way an individual think about a particular problem and approach those problems. It is a continuous process, and people undergo anticipatory and re-socialization throughout their life. 2.2, Anticipatory Socialization. The term anticipatory socialization was first used by Robert Merton in his study of US military in 1949. It refers to the process whereby people embrace the values and standards of groups that they are willing to join, so as to confirm their entry into the groups and applied interact once they are accepted in the group. It means changing one's behavior and outlook in order to prepare for some new role. Merton Kidd 1950 asserted that anticipatory socialization occurs either by push or pull. By push, they mean forces that push people away from certain roles or behavior linked with that particular role. Pull means that forces which pulls people towards a specific role or behavior linked to that particular role. For example, threat of being punished for copying during exams keeps students away from using unfair means. On the other hand, high pay package, social prestige, better future prospects may pull people to select certain careers. For example, craze for medicine, engineering, or MBA in India. People's social identity is developed through anticipatory socialization. Both the pull and the push factors associated with anticipatory socialization help people to develop positive social identity. It helps the people to keep negativity in the form of their beliefs, values, and attitudes at bay and aid in achieving desirable social identity. 2.3 Re-socialization. It involves a process to acquire a new set of norms, values, attitudes, and behavior that brings about transition from one roles to the other. It is the most important from socialization as throughout life we keep on acquiring new experience and rules. Re-socialization can bring about minor or major changes in the life of individual, example joining new job or migration to another country, where the migrant has to learn the culture, values, and practices of the host country so that he or she can fit in. Resocialization is natural throughout life. People acquire new sets of values and behavior and discard the old. For example, marriage and parenthood, no formal training is required, but in some cases, re-socialization is essential to take over new roles and challenges. People have to go through the formal training and show that they have learned the code of conduct, appropriate values, and attitudes to fit in the new roles. Thus, re-socialization is different from the formative socialization, as re-socialization redirects individuals' development. Re-socialization can be voluntary or involuntary. In voluntary socialization, people on their own participate in programs that to reinvent themselves. For example, drug addict register self for rehabilitation program. Involuntary socialization is also called the simple socialization. It means people are forced to undergo training to learn to unlearn certain norms, values, and attitudes. For example, a military boot camp. Resocialization, and total institutions. Resocialization is rapid and brings about basic changes in one's life. It means discarding the earlier norms and values and learning the new, which may be completely different from the former norms and values. Desocialization occurs before resocialization. It means shedding and previous beliefs, values, and attitudes so that one may take up partly or totally new norms, values, and attitudes in order to be a part of a new group. The process of resocialization and desocialization takes place in total institution. Goffman coined the term of total social institutions. He referred to institutions such as concentration camps, mental hospitals, boarding schools, and religious cults as total institutions. In such institutions, people have very limited reactions with the outside world. They are under close surveillance and control of the agents of the institution. People have to forego the earlier roles, identity, values, and norms and acquire the new values, attitudes, and norms. Often, punishment and rewards are used for people to learn new roles, statuses, and values. The important characteristics of total institutions are: the staff of institutions administer and supervise the activities for inmates. The life of inmates in total institutions are standardized, for example, uniforms and same food and activities. The inmates' behavior and daily activities are regulated by formal rules. Through the process of re-socialization, the staff of the total institutions, the attempt to bring about changes in the personality of the inmates. The inmates are isolated or confined to barracks, locked doors, tiny windows and fences. Even visitors are not allowed to visit frequently, and there is a limitation on access to phone calls for the inmates. Institutions become their world. This allows the staff to bring about expected change in behavior of the inmates. The impact of re-socialization cannot be same for everyone. This is evident from federal cases where some federal children were re-socialized, while in other cases the attempt of re-socialization failed. If an individual is kept for a long period in confined and controlled environment that hampers his or her ability to think and act independently, this process is called institutionalization, and it has negative effect on the personality of the individual. The individual once out of the total institutions find it difficult to adapt to the world outside. Check your progress. What is anticipatory socialization? 2. Explain the term re-socialization. 3rd. Explain voluntary and involuntary re-socialization. 4. Write the note on role of total institution in re-socialization. 2.4 Gender socialization. Gender socialization is a process by which children of different sexes are socialized in gender-specific roles. Trial 2011 explained gender socialization as social learning concerning gender, and it consists of two interrelated and often used constructs: gender norms and gender identity. Gender norms means the set of rules that set appropriate feminine and masculine behavior in a particular culture, and gender identity is how people identify themselves as being female or male. It is a multi-dimensional concept that occurs over a period of time, and people acquire it through gender norms of their society, and subsequently it becomes their gender identity. The children learn what it means to be a female or male through socialization. It starts with the birth of child when the physician says that it is a baby girl or a baby boy, and followed by parents welcoming their bundle of joy by decorating the nursery in pink for a girl with flowers, soft toys and butterflies. The girl child is dressed in frilly dresses. The parents do not even realize that they are training and their child to become a perfect woman. The child learns that a perfect woman should be presentable, hospitable, rear children, and so on. Conversely, the parents prepare the nursery of a boy by painting it in blue, decorating it with animals and some that represent toughness. The toys from races of guns, cars, games, etc. They often wear jeans, t-shirts, and shoes at a very young age. They learn that Papa earns and Mama cooks. Boys are not at all trained in doing assault course. There is always a pressure on the boys to portray themselves as brave, protective, and macho. These stereotypical gender roles can be observed in the field of sports, education, politics, and labor market. For example, women become gynecologist while men become heart specialists. Similarly, primary school teachers are mostly women, and men in teaching profession generally teach mathematics and science, or girls pursue arts and boys commerce and science. What are gender stereotypes? The term gender stereotype refers to generalized outlook about characteristics or the roles that are performed or processed or how to be processed by the men and women. It is detrimental for both men and women as it restricts their capacity to develop their personality, capabilities, career choices, and make decisions about their lives. It violates their fundamental rights and freedom of choice. For example, marital rape in many countries is not criminalized because society view women as sexual property of their men. in 1996 argues that children at a very young age of 2 to 3 become aware of their gender roles. By the time they reach 4, the idea of culturally apt gender roles is fully ingrained in them. Children learn to pick up these roles through the process of socialization, a process through which the children acquire societal beliefs, norms, values, and attitudes. Children acquire their gender roles through the agencies of socialization, such as family, school, peer group, and mass media. Each of these agencies' socialization attempts to strengthen gender stereotypical roles. What is check your progress? One, what is gender role socialization? Two, explains gender stereotype. 2.5 approaches to understand gender socialization. Various fields have contributed to the understanding of gender socialization, such as feminist studies, queer movement, and advancement in the understanding of social and biological phenomena, and so on. The attempt to understand the concept of gender socialization originated from the discipline of psychology. Some of the significant contributions of the discipline and psychology are as follows. Social learning. Gender socialization takes place through the social learning from the environment such as family, school. An individual learn to tune its behavior with the environment. Children are active agents of socialization. They have a cognitive ability to process and internalize specific information. Stages of socialization. Different stages of socialization surface from individuals measuring cognitive capacity and their social experiences. Integration. For an inclusive understanding of socialization, it is necessary to integrate the cognitive motivational factor and socio-structural factor. Sociological understanding of gender socialization. The sociological viewpoint stressed that gender is learned through the socialization. It rejects biologically deterministic tradition for differences in gender and gendered behavior. One of the most important perspectives is structural functionalism. Structural functionalism focuses on the role of social structures in defining the contours of the society and organizations. It considers family as the core component of society, and gender roles within marriage assumes prominent place. According to this perspective, gender roles were well defined before the pre-industrial societies, where men would do work whatsoever outside the home, and home took care of domestic chores. Integration. For an inclusive understanding of socialization, it is necessary to integrate cognitive, motivational factor and sociological structural factor. Sociological understanding of gender socialization. The sociological viewpoint states that gender is learned through socialization. It rejects biologically deterministic tradition for differences in gender and gendered behavior. One of the most important perspectives is structural functionalism. Structural functionalism focuses on the role of social structures defining the contours of society and organization. It considers family as the core component of society, and gender roles within marriage assumes prominent place. According to this perspective, gender roles were well defined before the pre-industrial societies, where men would do work whatsoever outside the home, and women took care of domestic chores. These roles were thought to be functional as women were unable to take over responsibilities outside due to their physical constraints such as pregnancy, birth of child, and nursing. Once these roles were established, it was passed from generation and to generation, and it served as effective and efficient means to keep family as a system functioning. For functionalists, gender roles contribute for stable social relations. In the viewpoint of Talcott Parsons, women perform expressive role by managing household chores and taking care of emotional need of the family members, and nurturing men from perform instrumental role of earning and providing for the family and making important decisions in the family. For G. Murdoch, this arrangement was practical and convenient, as women would take over domestic responsibilities and men would concentrate on work outside home. He considered this arrangement logical for the organization of society. Conflict perspective sees society as a struggle for dominance among social groups, and these social groups compete for scarce resources. They view men as a dominant group and women as subordinates. For conflict theories, social issues arises when the dominant group oppresses the subordinate group. The conflict perspective stresses on the role of capitalism, social class, and the power of shaping relations within the family and marriage. Angels point out that some same bourgeois and proletariat owner and worker relationships prevail in family as is seen in the labor market. Women take over the role of worker and men the owner. This is because women are dependent on men to acquire resources, and the conditions of men is even worse when she is financially dependent on her spouse. Men's work is valued, but a woman, whether she works at home or she is in paid work, is not valued at all. However, the contemporary conflict theories suggest that women, when in paid work, can gain power in the family structure, and this would lead to the creation of democratic environment at home. But still, they will have to still take over the major domestic responsibilities than men. Interactionist apply micro approach to understand gender. For the gender inequality exists due to socialization process and everyday interactions and use of symbols. In the words of West and Zimmerman, we are always doing gender. It means that gender is socially constructed difference between men and women. Another important contribution to understand gender socialization comes from queer theory. This perspective examines issues of sexuality, power, and marginalized people. It is influenced by work of post-structural theories like Friedrich Nietzsche and Michael Foucault and psychoanalysis. The queer viewpoint questions gender stereotypes and did not believe in binary categories such as masculine and feminine, male or female, straight or gay. For them, gender is less about the body and more about the discourses, rituals, and practices. Feminist view on gender: Simone de Beauvoir claimed that women were not born, but rather they become. Through the process of gender socialization, they learn feminine traits and behavior through the process of socialization. Various branches of feminism attempts to explain the cause of gender inequality, rooted in processes such as patriarchy, capitalism, sexism, and racism. In Kate Millet's view, gender differences are cultural rather than biological, and it results from differential treatment given to men and women through the process of gender socialization. In her opinion, gender is sum total of parents' speech and the cultural notion of what is shaped for men and women by the way of status, worth, interest, temperament, gestures, and expressions. Women are socialized to play subordinate roles, perceived docile and ignorant. As these roles are learned through the process of socialization, it can be unlearned. All the above perspective in understanding of gender socialization has contributed towards a multidimensional viewpoint that state gender is embedded at individual, institutional, and intersectional level of society. Check your progress. 1. Explain gender socialization. 2.6 Political socialization. Political socialization is a process by which people internalize political beliefs, norms, values, and behavior. According to our political socialization or patterns of social actions that are developed in people through skills, motives, and behavior, which is to perform the current rules of or anticipatory rules. Austin and Nelson defined political socialization as a process through which people gain required knowledge, skills, and outlook that enable them to function happily in the social and political culture, while the formal political socialization is to establish and develop necessary attitudes and beliefs about the political system. Political socialization is thus a process by which attitudes and public opinions are formed towards the political system. It prepares the citizens to play greater roles in the political decision making and thereby contribute for the development of political culture. Political socialization, like any other form, so is a lifelong process that socializes the social unit towards a political life and establishes relationship between civil society and the polity. Political socialization inculcates in people those values that help in creating awareness of the political world and understanding of the political events. Politically socialized people acquire political orientations and patterns of behavior that give them opportunity to learn basics of politics that is essential for the smooth functioning of a democratic society. For sociologists, political socialization is essentially a process by which relationship is developed between political system and society. People get involved in political process through political socialization. It is a lifelong process through which political culture is transmitted. Goals of political socialization to transmit our political values from one generation to another, to mold and transmit nations' political culture, to instill trust in people by introducing them to political norms, values, and attitudes, to create sense of responsibility in citizens, to maintain stability in political system. To understand political system and cherish the values, ideas, and beliefs that are essential for smooth function of political system. 2.7 Forms of political socialization. Political socialization can be classified as follows: manifest or direct political socialization. In manifest political socialization, the formation, values, or norms transmitted is political, and people acquire the information from agents and socialization such as family, peer group, and teachers about the functioning of the government and ideology of various political parties. For example, civics courses in school which provides information on fundamental rights and fundamental duties. Indirect or latent political socialization. Indirect political socialization starts with non-political orientations and results in political orientation. It consists of fundamental features of general culture and impacts political sphere. It takes the place through the channels such as general social conditions and behavior resulting in political action or inaction. People acquire necessary skills, techniques by participating in non-political activities that may develop their political skill as an adult. Participation in university politics. Particularistic socialization. In particularistic socialization, political ideas of people are directed towards certain value which they need to follow and appreciate. Entire political energies are directed towards achieving that particular political values. Universalistic socialization. The universalistic Political socialization is not unidirectional like particularistic political socialization. Your attempt is made to develop liberal views. People learn and perform various roles in different aspects of their life. Political socialization is thus a complex process in which various institutions and agencies work formally or informally, intentionally or unintentionally, as agents of transmitting political knowledge, values, and attitudes. The important agencies of political socialization are mass media, peer group, political parties, students, union, trade unions, women organizations, and so on. Check your progress. 1. What is political socialization? 2. Explain the goals of political socialization. 3. Describe the types of political socialization. 2.8 State, society interface and political socialization. In the society interface, government institutions are the key player. The member of the government institutions and society interact with each other at various levels. For example, economic and social reforms, policy making. Society's are made by the guidelines of the state. The social dynamism at a particular point of time plays significant role in deciding whether the state and society relationships will be of conflict or cooperation. Political socialization gives impetus to the society and the society relationship. It helps people to participate in the political life of the country. For any democracy to be successful, it is necessary to initialize the citizens into political life of the nation and integrate them with what of the society. 2.9 Summary. Socialization is a continuous process. It does not end as one reaches adulthood. People as an adult adapt and mature through the process of anticipatory socialization and re-socialization. Anticipatory socialization is preparing oneself for upcoming roles in the life. This act makes people to adapt and accept changes much easily. In addition to this, people also experience re-socialization in their life course due some fundamental changes and priorities such as marriage, parenthood, religious conversion, new job, etc. By the process of anticipatory and social and re-socialization, we continuously adapt to changes in society and also in our chronologically aging process. Gender socialization and political socialization are part of larger process of socialization. Gender socialization is process whereby men and women are socialized differently. They are raised to conform to gender roles. The sociological perspective on gender socialization reveals that interaction between the social structural forces and individual agency is a significant aspect of gender socialization. Gender is done through everyday practices. It is dynamic and should be considered within specific place, time, and space. People learn appropriate gender roles through the agents of socialization such as family, mass media, school, and peer groups. Political socialization is a process whereby people acquire attitudes, values, norms, and beliefs that make them responsible citizens of their country. It is essential for smooth functioning of democracy and participation of people in the civic life. For sociologists, political socialization is a lifelong process and play a key role in the maintaining equilibrium in society. Family, mass media, educational, and government institutions play a significant role in transmission of political values. 2.10 Questions 1. Discuss the re-socialization and anticipatory socialization with examples. 2. Examine the concept of gender socialization. 3. Analyze the concept of political socialization. 4. Write a note on primary and secondary socialization. 1. Re-socialization 2015 types of socialization and their importance in understanding the phenomena of socialization. European Journal of Social Sciences, Education and Research, March 2. Second, Kane Healy in 1996, Center Culture and Learning, Washington, D.C. Academy for Educational Development. 3. McKeown's J. 2012, Sociology, A Global Introduction, 5th edition, Harlow, England, New York. Pearson or Prentice Hall. 4. N. John K. Chobanow, S. Richard J. Edmonds, and N. Baliwan. Presence on gender resolution during adolescence in low and middle income countries. Conceptualization influences and outcomes innocently discussion paper ICRW and UNICEF. 5. Yes, B. 2004 Gender as a Social Structure Theory Wrestling and with Activism. Gender and Society. August Volume 18. 4. 6. United Nations 2014 Gender Stereotypes and Stereotyping and Human Rights.